game was very interesting because the setup at the stadium, both the locker rooms were backed up to each other. So at that time, LSU being in the SEC, there still wasn't a lot of respect for probably football from the North. We're still, independents at the time. So our coach walked in, Dick McPherson walked into the locker room, and instead of giving us a pregame speech, he had everybody get real quiet and said, just listen to what they think of you. That's all you need to hear before kickoff. And we listened to LSU as they tried to hype each other up, how they were going to dismantle the boys from the North who don't know how to play football. And this is the SEC, and we're going to teach these guys a lesson. And we're all just sitting there going, do they realize that we can hear what they're saying right now?
We made a pact as freshmen when we came to the university that we are going to win a national championship before we leave here. And everybody thought we were crazy because of the fact that Pitt had only won one game a year the previous 10 years. But we said, we're going to win us a national championship. And so we started working hard. We worked hard year after year. We started winning more and more games. And we ended up getting that opportunity to go to the Sugar Bowl our senior year to play the Georgia Bulldogs and to see if we could win that national championship. And thank God that's what happened.
So there was my first time ever going to the Rose Bowl. And I just remember running out for the first time and actually seeing the field and seeing the stands were honestly maybe a little bit more orange than they were Cardinal. And that was kind of an eye-opening experience to me, and seeing how well the Texas fans traveled, and obviously for the national championship. But I think it was like that till that time, it was all-time attendance. The stadium was completely packed, and it was there was an aura to it. It was just kind of one of those magical nights where, and as far as the game went, you talk about back and forth the entire game. Never know if we were going to win or lose until the final whistle was blown. It was just so intense, so back and forth, and it was definitely a learning experience to be a part of.
Growing up in New York and in Queens is not exactly a place where you find a lot of college football fans, but I caught the bug early on. Part of it was the regular season, seeing these games from what seemed like very far off places, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lincoln, Nebraska, right? For a kid from Queens, that might as well have been Mars, but it really drew me in. And very, very soon after that, I remember, being 10, 11 years old and thinking, man, January 1st is just the best day of the year. You have all these amazing college football games. And I can remember even, I couldn't have been any more than 10, 11 years old, being at a New Year's Eve party with my parents and trying to watch a Blue Bonnet Bowl, which was the old bowl game from Houston.
We felt like it was Miami against everybody, right? So, we go to the bowl games, and it's some functions where we'll go and both teams are there. Yeah. Right? Both teams will be there. So we would always size the other team up. We've been watching film with these guys for 2 weeks, right? And I'd be like, that's number 6 right there. Well, he's small. He's not like he is on the film, so we would always just size guys up, and just, everywhere we meet, if we went if both teams were there, it was like two teams that didn't smile, and we just looking at each other they can blow the whistle right now, and I think we will face off right now, so it was stuff like that. And especially now when we sit up there and I talk to some of my old teammates, we laugh at that stuff now, because it was it was funny, but at the same time it was serious business, because you want to win the game. It's the last game, especially if you're a senior or even if you're an underclassman, you want to win for the seniors that's leaving, so that game was important no matter what game it was or the name of the bowl game it was. You wanted to win that game because it was going to set the tone for you, next season, or for the seniors as they leave on and try to get to the next level, So it's just, man, whenever we took trips and went places, I remember in the Gator Bowl, and, we played against Georgia Tech, and we went to the bowling alley, and nobody from each team bowled. There was no bowling going there. It was just everybody just staring at each other, you know what I mean? So it was just, it's silly, but it was serious. You know what I mean? Like everybody just wanted to win those games to really keep the momentum going and help continue that foundation to be built.
We had quite a few UAB fans and quite a few BYU fans, and I think what people can expected to be a blowout ended up being a totally different game. And so, that's the joy of bowl season, is you never know what to expect, and that's why it's so much fun to watch. It was interesting because our game was so much earlier this year, so that I think it caught up, the fans, it came up on them really quickly. And what we noticed was ticket sales usually hit a surge for a few days right after announcement of the matchup, and then it tails off a little bit. For us, it was strong all the way up until game day. So there was a lot of excitement there as people sort of educated themselves out of what their norm is and learned a lot about BYU's program and why they were so highly ranked.
And the one that really stands out is that great Fiesta Bowl between Boise State and Oklahoma. I think that would have been the 06 season, if memory serves me right. Jared Zabransky was the Boise quarterback. Adrian Peterson was obviously the star tailback for Oklahoma, and that game basically, I think is the greatest game I've ever covered. It had the consecutive trick plays of the hook and ladder at the end of regulation. I think it was a receiver pass in the end zone in the first overtime, and then the obviously the famous Statue of Liberty play to end the game. Just in terms of like sheer excitement, it's hard to top that flurry. And at the time, Boise beating Oklahoma was just a huge deal because it had been, there had been that struggle for access. Or Urban Meyer's Utah team in 04 was sort of the first to sort of break through that barrier.
Peach Bowl in Atlanta was great. They put us up right there downtown Atlanta, which may not have been the best idea from an ops perspective, but we enjoyed that, had a lot of fun with that. But I think because of the proximity to Georgia that Auburn has, we had a lot of guys from Georgia. So it was a lot of, hey, we're going to my buddy's house, or my friends got this set up for us. So that was a big part of that trip. Obviously, the Citrus Bowl was just incredible, being the last college game that I played in. My senior year, being able to go down there. We went to SeaWorld, got the pet Shamu and got to do some cool things. Obviously, Orlando, there's always going to be activities you can take part in. But a lot of wonderful bowl memories that I had during my time at Auburn, and being able to go be a part of those games.
The other one is, because I wrote a story on this, was Rutgers and Wake Forest and the mad scramble. And Adam Rittenberg, my colleague, and I had a lot of fun talking to Rutgers, their players, their administrators, about how bad they wanted to play in a game. And I remember talking to the quarterback and just saying, can you explain to people why you want to do this? I mean, he was in Oklahoma, completely immersed in Christmas with his family, walking around, and his season was over. Why you want to pick up and go back to campus across the country and get ready for a bowl game against Wake Forest? And he's like, because we had a terrible taste in our mouth. One more game with these teams, with these guys, for these seniors. And just the experience of that was totally worth it for those players. The quick 180-degree scramble, and the same for Wake Forest. Let's find an opponent. Let's get this thing done. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way Rutgers wanted it to, but the passion for the game and the want to was, I thought, just a remarkable story in being able to make that happen.
I remember one of the traditions was they would take the teams and the CBS people across the border into Mexico, and you go to a bullfight in a small little, I don't know. I haven't been to the other bullfight ring stadium, so maybe it's standard size. I don't know. But, you're there. There are a couple of refreshments before, they get to the bullfight. And one of the guys on the committee said, well, our tradition is that each of the head coaches, the two head coaches and the CBS announcers, go down into the ring and they fight the bull. Which, when they told me the story, I thought that's probably a lot of bull, quite frankly, because I have very little interest in doing that, even with the refreshments. And then they said, no, it's very safe. They're smaller bulls. They have their horns, or whatever you call them. You can see I'm an expert on this. Pinned back, they taped back. So, okay, we're going to do this.
And Campo leans over to me. He says, hey, do you know who the halftime entertainment is today at the Orange Bowl? And I said, no idea. And he says, your favorite group, the Temptations. I said, you're kidding me. So I click on the headset. I said, hey, Jimmy. I says, I can come down there at halftime, but I really don't have anything to tell these guys. I mean, I don't think they'll score on us. You know, and I says, so the time I get down there and through the crowd and talk to the defense, I says, Butch and I have been talking, and he knows exactly what to do. There's, you know, it's going to be a mess in the time to get. He says, well, if you think that, then you want to. I said, yeah, I just soon stay up here. He says, okay, fine. So I said to Camps, get out here and get some food, man. See what these media people have up here in the press box. So he brings back some food, and the Temptations are playing, and we're my girl. We're kind of going back and forth. Well, Bob Trumpy and Don Cricky are doing the game. And they walk by and they stick their head in. And we're in there eating and kind of going with the beat. And Trumpy and I are good friends. So Trump calls me out and says, can I talk to you a minute? I said, yeah. He says, everything okay? I said, what do you mean? He says, you didn't get fired at halftime, did you? I said, no. I said, but you know, and he says, and he, for years, whenever I would see Don Cricky and those guys, I'm talking about 10 years later, the first thing they brought up, they said, that was the craziest thing. You know, I said, well, we were pretty confident and we were pretty good. And I don't know what the final score was, 31-3. They might have scored a touchdown. I don't think they did, but yeah. So that was a bowl story that probably will never be duplicated again.